You see this already?
Which one? Oh, there you go.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm late. I'm a last minute
technical
replacement. Technical difficulties. I'll pick that up in a minute. But Brad Michaels will not be here this week because obviously we are in Las Vegas, and he chose to take the Bears last week over the hometown Raiders. So Brad's in the National Football League PPP. That is the Prognosticators Protection Program. So he'll be back maybe next week. Hey guys,
How we doing?
There you go.
Oh, that's good.
Walter, you and that facelift over there. That's why I wore orange. Orange, you glad I'm here.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I wore orange because last week, you, Brad, being the big Dolphin fan, you were a definitely Patriot fan last week for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then
was absolutely.
And then you couldn't beat the Beagles. And now this week, you totally hate the Patriots because I'm wearing orange for the Dolphish to go down again. And I know they're mammals, but
I don't think we're going to lose that game. I think this has got to be a rebound game for us. I mean, you got to look at the fact that the Patriots, thank you, because Buffalo just did not play a good game at all. Buffalo's been playing bad all year.
By the way, Buffalo just punched it in
Yeah,
28-14, I think it is.
Wow.
Or
24,
24-10.
24-10.
There it is. I knew they were 14.
I don't know if I have my producer, Bobby Blackjack. He was standing by. I don't know. He was on camera earlier.
He was on camera.
And I don't know if he's going to pop back in and join us. He's a fantasy guru, by the way. He's up in New Jersey.
Okay.
So Bobby, if you're there, you can pop in at any time. I know he said he was on a date tonight. So he actually had a bar.
What's his name? Sorry, Bob. Is his name Neil? Ooh, we're getting crazy. Well, crazy. I would like to see Bob match some wits with our fantasy guru right here.
It's all right.
I feel like
it's always fun. Always fun. Always
he could probably do that. He's pretty good. We worked with him last year on a lot of picks, and he helped me out an awful lot. But I don't really play fantasy that often. I was never good at it. You're obviously good at it. Plenty of you. Have you ever won anything in fantasy?
So if you, I've been in many fantasy football leagues, and I joined one here. My first and second year I was here. All these guys are Bishop Gorman guys. Hello, fellas. Love you all. I was the only guy really outside. I think we might have had a Chicago kid in there, but he lost his hair and who knows what else he lost. We were in this thing 29 years, and we finally won it last year. So and
it's about how I was.
It's a hefty league too. I think I talked it over Jeff a little bit.
Yeah, we talked it over.
This year we're like 3-3 right now, so we're
it's okay.
Top 6 teams is 12 of them. Top 6 teams make the playoffs. That's all you ask for is to get in because then you get some money.
Yeah.
Now, you guys are like most of the fantasy leagues that I was in, if I remember right, you picked everything, you play, whether it's heads up or however it's played, but you play through the regular season and then you start your playoffs to try to match. Now, do you guys end your Super Bowl weekend, or how do you?
It's always it depends on your league. I know we stop ours week 17 just because week 18 is so unpredictable,
right?
Because players will
take people not playing.
Yeah, so many people not playing. So we try to get everything done by week 17. So the playoffs you start depending on your format, week 14 or.
Do you have to redraft though?
No.
Okay.
No, you take.
So you just go on the waiver wire and pick up guys that are okay.
Oh yeah,
that's probably the best
way. Mine's a little
to do.
different. We end on the 14th week of the season,
in the playoffs,
and the last 3 are our playoffs.
Yep.
So that most everybody's still playing. You know what I mean? If you turn around the season ends, you only got playoff teams, but your quarterback was Tom Brady, and he didn't make the playoffs. Wait, he always made them. Maybe Purdy. Purdy's not bad either.
No,
but if your quarterback didn't make the playoffs, it wasn't fair to you.
Well, Purdy's not used to losing. I mean, he's now lost 2 games in a row. The first 2 games in regular season that he's lost as the starter. So
he'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so.
The team's loaded, offense and defense. They're a little banged up and nicked up a little bit, but I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you look across the league right now, I think you see a lot of the teams that are having some problems, and the Dolphins included. You look up down that roster, they're banged up. We were missing X last week. Jalen Ramsey hasn't played yet.
Yeah.
He might play this weekend.
like I said, we went through it last week, and they had the Dolphins 1 in one league and then 2 or 3 in the other league and whatnot. And none of us were really sold on it, but you and I really weren't. You being the Dolphin fan, you weren't sold on it. And we said, well, it is the NFL. They were beating the teams that they're supposed to beat.
Yeah, and that's what you're supposed to do.
That they met up with, they got pretty well
Shellacked.
manhandled. Shellacked by Buffalo, and you got manhandled by the Beagles last week.
Oh.
Eagles kind of looked a little bit like team last year.
They did actually, but I got to be honest. We're gonna come back around because it wasn't just the Dolphins game; it was also the Colts and the Cleveland game. That ended a little rough with some officiating, questionable calls.
Yes, absolutely.
And then we're going to talk about the Dolphins Eagles. 10 penalties against the Dolphins, none against the Eagles. Now I can't say that there weren't any against the Eagles, but when they did get them, offset. So on the books, it was 0. And what does that? Think about it. Really seriously, guys. What does that do to a team if you're up against that?
Build up.
You have no momentum. You don't know how you can hit a guy. I mean, for crying out loud, Christian Wilkins comes in and just gives the old shove as he's heading in, and he let up on the play. Jalen Hurts goes down, and that's roughing.
It's disgusting.
Yeah,
it really is. They're throwing the flags and all this crap.
Well, you always say it. The National Flag League. They got to keep the flags in their pockets and let these guys play.
Yeah.
The referees want to be on TV as much as the next guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to get that camera time. And that official in the Dolphins game, he's already been suspended by the ACC, him and his entire crew, for questionable, non-ethical play calling or calling of the game. So anything else on your guys' minds before we head into buyers and sellers? Because, the trade deadline coming up on the 31st. We've already had some trades. We'll talk about those. Anything else stand out to you guys that worth a mention, or we need to get out of the way, like something I don't know, maybe Pittsburgh?
Buddy, I don't think anybody has to mention anything about the Patriots or any of those guys.
Oh, wow.
Who are they?
We don't have any players. We might be selling, but we have nobody to sell either. So I like some of the headlines you pointed out over here that the Ravens would love to land Derrick Henry.
They need an edge,
especially if you're a playoff
they need the running back,
and you want to turn around and control that ball. Derrick Henry's a really good guy, and if you get an offensive line in front of him, or he's sitting in front of a guy like Jackson, then you don't know who's getting the ball, which way they're running. Jackson actually looked fantastic last week against Detroit.
Yes, he did.
Both running,
that was another surprise. I think we all said that Detroit was going to have a rough time in Baltimore. I did not expect that shot at all. That was what, 35 to 7?
I don't know. The game was over early.
That's as rough as gas prices out here in Vegas. Exactly. Let me tell you.
Or in LA. The other thing, you mentioned the Ravens and Derrick Henry, because that's on one of those articles. We get that from the NFL.
Yep.
The other one, though, that I'm looking at is the Ravens. They also need some help at edge. Jadeveon Clowney, he's worked out well for them, but it would be interesting for them to be able to pick up somebody like Brian Burns, who actually Burns isn't he just decided he's still under contract, isn't he?
Yes.
So if they could pick up like Brian Burns or maybe even Chase Young. I've also heard some banter about the Dolphins going after Chase Young.
There's been a lot of interest in Chase Young. I mean, the problem, I don't know. What are your take on Chase Young?
If he was back what he used to be and how he played, maybe a little more attitude changed or whatnot, and a team player. I mean, the guy's got athletic ability. He can play the game, man. It's just, is it mentally with him? Is it possibly something with teammates with him? Is it a coaching where he has no respect?
You never know.
And again, it could be a nice change of scenery coming for him. He could use that. Maybe that'll change his attitude, maybe the perception on him.
If he gets with maybe a contender like the Dolphins, the Dolphins definitely, you guys could use that for sure.
Well, yeah, you couple him with Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and Andrew Van Ginkel.
That's making you a game changer.
Van Ginkel's look great this year.
We talked earlier.
He's looking really awesome. Good, yeah.
Defense wins championships. Yep.
That's it. And we talk about that every week.
Every week.
Let's go down the list here on the main list here, the sellers and buyers. So number one seller, in my opinion, is not the one on the top of the list here, although they probably second. So these three teams here, but let's start with the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers, they're sitting at 0-6, right? They could actually benefit and pick up some nice draft picks by shopping some guys. You want to talk about outside linebacker? There you go, Brian Burns, safety Jeremy Chin, and linebacker Frankie Louvu, also wide receiver Terrence Marshall Jr. Who's
I
some
just don't know
takers
if
on
you're,
that?
I don't know if you're going to get a lot for those guys to make it worth your while. I mean, you might get. You're not going to get anything game changing. You might. Terrence Marshall's not going to get you much. You might.
I don't think any of these guys are really going to get a whole lot. Maybe Burns.
Burns that's your best bet.
The biggest thing is that this is the National Football League, and these general managers now, they don't go out there swinging for the fences because it never really seems to work out, especially if you're taking a guy that's on the last year of his contract. Unless you think you're going to be able to sign him long term, you really don't want to give up a whole lot for a guy because draft capital in the National Football League now is gold.
It's been, especially with the salary cap situation, you need those guys you can plug in right away.
Sure.
I think if you turn around and you're the Carolina Panthers, you pull a line right out of Trading Places. Sell, Mortimer, sell, just sell.
Well, talking about selling, let's go to the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton says, nope, we're not. This is not a wholesale fire sale. We're not going to do that. But how do you not? You have nothing there but a bunch of underachievers. That's not your team. You didn't pick these guys. You haven't been coaching them. You came in this year. There's wholesale change happening in Denver. It's going to happen. The only thing they can't get out of is Russell Wilson's contract.
Yeah, nobody's going to pick that contract.
Suckers.
yeah, Seattle's laughing about that one, but
yeah, Seattle.
But they do have some talent on that team that they've obviously already made trades with the Niners, getting rid of. I'm sorry, name's escaping me. The outside linebacker. He went to the Niners. 2 weeks ago? I forget his name. I'm losing track
to him.
But yeah, it looks like they're starting to unload.
They're unloading a little bit, but they've got a whole lot
They've
more
got a
players
lot
that they could
more.
unload. You could get rid of Justin Simmons. You get rid of Garrett Bowles. On the other hand, though, you talk about those two guys are probably easy to get rid of. Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutherland, they don't have great value, right? Based on their recent performance, but nobody in the Broncos organization right now is performing well, including their head coach, who I thought it was kind of sweet revenge when the Jets beat them with Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator after the comments made by Sean Payton. What about the Giants? Now, the Giants, that's a team that I told you guys, there was a guy on FM or Sirius XM radio called in, talked about the Giants, and he said, we're going to lose this next week. We'll probably lose the next week after that. And then we're going to go on a big run. Now he's starting to look like maybe he might have been right. The Giants 2-5, fourth place in the NFC East.
I think you got to sell at this point. I mean, you don't know who your quarterback's going to be next year. You don't know if you're going to stick with Daniel Jones or try to get out that contract.
I think Jones is gone. What do you think, Buddy?
I think Jones is going to.
Yeah,
I really do. We talked about it too. It's a very tough division, especially with Philadelphia and Dallas sitting up on top. And Washington, any given week, they can beat anyway. They showed it. One week they looked terrific. The next week the Bears handle them and shellac them. So, they're Dr. Jekyll. We mentioned this last week. I missed a high team.
A lot of teams like that.
To be fair to Danny Dimes there, he never really had weapons in that offense.
Nope.
Saquon Barkley, you go out and you get Darren Waller, but then all your receivers are 5'9" or shorter. I mean,
yeah. Who are you gonna do? But he's tall.
I mean, but
he's got another one of these. His neck is as large as Peyton Manning.
Oh yeah,
And it's like this guy looks like a turkey. I always thought that Peyton Manning shouldn't be out there saying "Papa" or whatever, or he should be out there going "gobble gobble." It's like, I mean, no wonder he hurt his neck. Sorry, Peyton. But,
definitely. I mean, are you looking at shopping Saquon Barkley?
That's key question. I mean, he just signed. Did he sign a 1-year contract just to play this year?
Was it 1 year? I believe it was just a 1 year. I believe it was just a 1 year.
So you shop him.
You gotta shop him
because he's already disgruntled.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think you got to shop him. You got to try and get some value for him.
The price tag.
Yeah.
Defensive lineman Leonard Williams. You got Sterling Shepard, the receiver. Xavier McKinney, the safety. Adoree Jackson, quarterback. So all those guys, because I think you talk about a team like the Giants. I think they need some draft capital.
Yes, yeah, they do. They got to start over. Just
Got to
build
start
from a
getting these
foundation.
guys out the door, get rid of those contracts, and get some picks. Let
Yeah,
somebody else take the contract.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to now. This was interesting because after Monday night's game, and you watched Kirk Cousins and the performance of the Vikings in defeating the San Francisco 49ers, the Vikings were a team that was listed as a seller. Are they a seller now? They evened up with the records 3 and 4.
Yeah, I don't think so because they're, if I remember, they're only what Detroit's 5-2, correct?
Detroit, yes, Detroit is 5-2 because they lost.
They're
not.
Minnesota's 4-3.
They're 3 and 4.
3-4. So they're not that far back at Detroit.
2 games back.
And Detroit, of course, is unproven, so you don't know if they're going to stumble. I don't think you can sell at this point. I think now you got to push forward and see what you can get out of this group.
I still like Cousins. I think he does a good job, and you're probably missing the best wide receiver in the game, with
Justin Jefferson being out. Yeah.
So,
but I think that's the key question. With Jefferson being out, are the Vikings going to be able to make a serious long run to make this thing work?
After beating the team that I saw him beat the other night,
Yeah.
I think so. I think now I think it takes a lot of focus off of trying to get Justin Jefferson the ball so much. Now he can just focus on spreading that ball around. Not worry about what Justin Jefferson doing. Read the defense and make the throw.
Is there a possibility? Do you think that Cousins was he looking off the other receivers and paying way too much attention to Justin Jefferson, which allows the defense to just we're going to double team this guy because that's the only guy he wants to throw to. All right, let's get to the Patriots. Probably sellers. Although, Floody, you've even said it yourself, and you're a Patriots fan. You've said there's no talent on that roster. So out of Kendrick Bourne, Trent Brown, Kyle Duggar, Hunter Henry, Jalen Mills, Josh Uche, pronounce it?
And you forgot Tom Brady.
He's gone.
Sorry about that. Those long gone years.
They didn't get anything for him. Thank you very much.
Not a thing.
I think whatever the Patriots can do in that bunch or whatever, move and sell. They're about in the same spot as the Giants, I think.
I would agree.
A decent running back, the kids from here, Stevens. Your quarterback is so-so.
Kind of up in the air. He had a great game last week.
Yeah, mac and cheese. He pulled off a win. Buffalo fans didn't like it. Dolphin fans loved it. Patriot fans were shocked. I was. And, whatever they could do, I think there's rebuilding, revamping, and a lot of going on. They probably would like to rewind and start over the last 20 years.
But that's the thing. You talk about revamping, rewind. The NFL has changed. When you go to the 17 game schedule, 18 weeks with the bye, and you have the trade deadline October 31st.
Mm-hmm.
Do they need to move the trade deadline back and push it back maybe end of November?
After Thanksgiving.
Yep. I think that works better.
You'd have a better idea what teams are going, which direction they're going, who's more of a buyer and seller rather than mediocre, and say, well, we'll just stay with what we got. We're all right with the salary cap, or we need to load some salary cap. And other teams might say we got room for certain guys, and I just think it would be one more month.
Yeah. Well, and I think as a GM, if I was 1-4, but then I rattled off 2 wins in a row and I got to 3-4 coming into the trade deadline, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you're on the fence.
Am I going to buy? Am I going to sell? Because you don't know. And I think if you wait till right after Thanksgiving, then you find out who's hurt, who's impacted the most with injuries that could actually make a run if they made a trade here or there for the right player.
You got to look at it this way: you're 3-4. And possibly you got 4 more games, and you go 0-4 on those, where you're heading.
Now you know you need to sell.
Now you're a contender.
Yeah.
So, like I said, in 2-2, you're still about the same spot. But the season's getting a little later, long in the tooth, and you're starting to look and say, I don't think we make a wild card.
And it makes those contracts look more appealing too when you're trading a little later, knowing a team doesn't have to pick up the full load of that first year that you're there. Makes it much more attractive to trade.
I think you would see a lot more trade activity, and I think the National Football League would actually like to see trade activity like that, because I think it makes it more interesting for the fans to see things like that. Let's talk about a couple of other possible sellers. I'm in on this one as a seller, the Tennessee Titans.
Oh yes.
I think, and the only player they have that they can actually shop, in my opinion, is Derrick Henry. But he's getting, for a running back, he's getting a little long in the tooth.
Yeah, he's long in the tooth, and they've already started to move away from him with Tajay Sharp. There, you notice he's got his snap percentage is starting to grow through the last few weeks. So,
do you shop Tannehill to a team maybe that needs somebody good at backup, just in case we want to talk about
Purdy last year in the Niners?
Imagine if Tannehill had been able to jump in there in that championship game, you'd have been a hell of a lot better off than where you were.
Rather than Johnson
handing the, and then later when he gets hurt,
McCaffrey
handing the ball off.
You don't have to call me Johnson.
And then I think the Arizona Cardinals definitely they're going to be selling.
Oh yeah,
I don't even think that they're going to bring back Kyler Murray. There's some talk that Kyler Murray could actually play this week.
I believe it. Yeah, if not, it's going to be definite. Probably not next week. It's the 21-day window they started. So it's got to be not next week, the week after. They've got 2 tough matchups coming up. I don't see them putting him out there for that.
I've heard some scuttlebutt that they're talking about putting him out there this week. But I've also, the other thing that I've heard is that Arizona is quite possibly ready to move on from Kyler Murray and just kind of hit the reset button.
That's true. Could be a good point.
So we'll have to see what happens on that. All right. Talk about buyers. And this is where you start getting into, we've talked about the teams now, and some of those teams probably come out and move up into the contender ranks. Mm-hmm. These are the teams, though, that are definitely contenders. All the rest of those teams, I think, are pretenders. I don't think, and barring just, going on a run somehow, I don't see anything happening. Kansas City Chiefs are buyers. Philadelphia Eagles, the Rams, the Lions,
they got to be
the
buyers.
Bills need some help, the Chargers and the Ravens. So let's break this down. Let's go to the Chiefs. The Chiefs 6-1, obviously looking like they're going to host their 6th straight AFC Championship game. The way it's going, they need a wide receiver and they need an edge rusher.
I think I don't know if they addressed the receiver part. I just don't think in that offense that's been their MO. I think edge rusher
they don't seem to miss it.
Yeah. So I just think Rashee Rice is really coming into his own. That rookie they got. Yeah. I think they're waiting to see if he pops. I wouldn't be shocked though if they do get an edge rusher to increase their pass rush.
Well, they need one, and then they, of course, you talk about go down to the Eagles. The Eagles need help in the secondary. Now they did just trade. Actually, now go back to the Chiefs. The Chiefs did trade with the Jets for Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, Mecole Hardman. Yeah,
they got him. Yeah, they got and then the Eagles on Monday they traded with the Titans. They sent the Titans sent Kevin Byard to Philadelphia for safety Terrell Edmonds and a 5th and a 6th round draft pick.
That was a good move by the Eagles because they lost their safety last year to the Detroit Lions, and he was a huge part of that defense. And getting somebody similar was a good move by the Eagles, and it was inexpensive. I believe it was a 6th or 7th or 6th and a 7th.
This is 6th and a 7th for that for Byard. Mm-hmm. So that probably shores up their secondary. I don't know if we'll see the Eagles make any more moves, but
no,
it is the NFL. You never know. All right, this was a team probably 2 weeks ago. I would have said would have been sellers because they were sitting in the cellar. Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah. The Lambs. I don't know. I think we hit on it a little bit. The Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. 1 week they look great and they could probably beat the best of anybody in the NFL. The next week they turn around and lose to the local high school here, Green Valley High. I mean, what are they, 3-3?
They are, they're 3-3.
As I thought I saw. And I'll tell you what, I think the trade deadline is just too close for them. See what they do the next 2 games. They go 5-3. Absolutely.
Which is another argument for pushing the trade deadline back.
Right. Yeah. And if they go 3-5, they should be sellers.
Yeah.
So they're on that cusp team. You know what I mean? Yeah, they need some help. Donald can't do it all by himself.
No, yeah, that's
I like Stafford. They got some weapons and stuff. They just don't. 1 week, like I said, they look like they would kill anybody. The next week, or play with anybody. The next week,
they lay an egg.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah. It's ugly.
If they do jump into the market and they do decide to buy, they're looking at edge, running back, and offensive line.
All good points.
Yeah, I think the offensive line is where you got to start, especially in that division.
Well, it's like I've always said, everything starts up front, and I don't have them on here, and we'll talk about them in a minute. I don't like to talk about the Dolphins too much, but I'm going to tell you what. If the Dolphins are going to jump into this buying frenzy, they need to get an offensive line.
No, yeah, you're absolutely
Definitely
right.
somebody to fill in on that left side of the line. Teron Armstead will be back after the bye.
Did you win early in the year in New England? Yes, you did. Tough to
Yes.
beat a team twice in 1 year.
Well,
That's why I'm wearing my
know.
orange. I'm pumpkin today. Aren't you glad I'm here, brother?
he's trying to jinx the Dolphins
That's
right now.
exactly what he's doing. Here. That's what he's trying to do.
All right, another surprising team. I'm not surprised that the Detroit Lions are 5-2. I'm surprised at how poor they played last week in Baltimore.
That was very shocking.
They need help at defensive back.
Yes.
And they did that to themselves a little bit, and then they're banged up. But maybe they add somebody like Jalen Mills, Kareem Jackson.
There's a couple good guys out there. I mean, especially on these selling, looking at the selling list, there's a lot of D-backs you can get in on there. Like you said, Jackson's a
There's
good
a bunch
one.
of them.
There's a ton of them out there that help you out. But like you said, it's hard part for them is most of it's all just injuries.
Well, I think that's what happens. We all know that happens with every team. And I think that's another good reason to push the trade deadline back, because you don't know what's going to happen. The teams, if you're healthy going into December and going into the playoffs, you're going to be able to make a deeper run. If you trade now for a guy because you need the depth, or you have an injury problem right now, you risk the chance of the trade. The player you traded for, he gets a hurt, and now you just wasted that trade. I think you need to wait a little bit longer and see how healthy are the teams in your division, how healthy are the teams in your conference, and are these players really going to help you or not to get over that hump?
Yeah.
I think when you were talking about the Lions there earlier, as poorly as they played, I go on the other side of the coin. Baltimore played very well.
Yeah,
Very well.
They were flawless. Jackson was on.
He probably had the best game of the year.
There's a pro and con to this one. I don't know if I'd want to be in the Detroit locker room and on the practice field this whole week, but I love that coach. Don't be surprised if they don't bounce back this week. They got our Raiders. No, your Raiders, not mine. They got the Raiders. There you go, folks. There
Put it on again. There
Johnny
we go.
Raiders.
I got an eyelash fell off.
He's losing eyebrows and everything else. Where's Groucho Marx when you need him? I think they're going to bounce
$6
back
down the tubes.
and they'll handle the Raiders this week, and they can get on another roll and go. If they go 5-2 in the next 7 games like they just did, now you're 10-4, lead maybe your division. I don't think the Bears or the Green Bay is going to be there. Maybe Minnesota tries to put some pressure on them, but they start getting in that mode again. But they lost to a good team.
No,
they did.
Baltimore is
going to be there in the end. They're probably going to win the AFC North, I would think.
I would think.
But then again, I don't know. The Steelers,
the Schittsburg Steelers,
because the Steelers, I don't see the Bengals winning the North. Oh. Something about the Bengals this year, I don't see them winning the North. I see it's down to Baltimore and then Pittsburgh maybe as a surprise.
Well,
I'm not in on Pittsburgh simply because of their offense.
Right.
I mean, if you're in on Pittsburgh, it means you're in on Atlanta making a deep run.
No, I'm not in on Atlanta.
Neither one of those teams has scored more points than they've let up.
But the thing is Tomlin has never had a losing season.
Well, this could be the first coming right up.
It could be, and I thought it was going to be that way at the beginning of the season, but they pulled off some wins now that I don't think anybody foresaw.
I'm going to give you one, though. This is kind of a little bit of a turning point, though, because we had mentioned this team earlier. Cincinnati's at San Fran. Do you see San Fran losing 3 in a row?
No way.
Or do you see Cincinnati coming off the bye week? Didn't they have a bye week last week?
I believe
they
did.
did. So,
Yeah,
they got a little healthier. Nothing out there is going to bother Joe
Joe Burrow. Extra preparation time.
And maybe he's thinking, and if they're going to make a little run or a charge at Baltimore, it starts
this week. It starts this week
for those two teams. That's a game I would love to see. And the winner of that one's going to take a little step closer towards the playoffs. And I think with San Fran, they lose. They come a little more back to the pack. A lot more people are sitting there going, good teams out there like Cincinnati.
Salivating, just waiting.
Yeah. So
that could be, and that could be one of those things with San Francisco. If they happen to have another hiccup this week and they lose again, that could be the beginning of a slide that a lot of people never foresaw
Yeah.
because they looked like world beaters the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, they did. They did.
All right, back to Buyers. Buffalo. Now Buffalo looks solid tonight. The last time I saw the score was 24-10.
Yeah, still 24-7.
So
10.
Yeah.
Buffalo, I think, is moving the ball, and they're playing Cimarron High School this week.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
that's what it looks like.
Okay.
Come on, they're
Or-
playing Tampa Bay. I'll kick it back to last week. Division games are a lot tougher,
always.
especially in our division. You know, the East, they know each other so well. We have the Jets number, but the Dolphins have lately had our number, and we usually split with Buffalo as good as they did. They're also coming off that loss at home to New England, embarrassing. You know they're not going to lose to Tampa Bay tonight.
No, you knew going in
they-
tonight
doing
that
the
they were
right
gonna-
things. I even saw
Not in Buffalo.
I
No.
even saw Allen slide instead of trying to run over the defensive back.
surprising.
Maybe somebody got to him and said, "Hey, look, you want to keep going? You got to get out of bounds. Slide."
But thinking of the Bills, if they are Buyers, the injuries to Tre'Davious White, and then Matt Milano and Daquan Jones, they need linebacker, or they need safety, or they need secondary
They
help.
need secondary help.
Okay, I think they need secondary help more than anything.
Yeah.
But Milano's a huge loss for them.
He's a great linebacker. Great linebacker. He fit the,
One of the best.
scheme. He was amazing in that scheme. So yeah, they're gonna be missing him. But you got Von Miller back. He's got to get revved up, get back to his full form. Well, he only played how many snaps last week? 6 or 7. It was very, very small amount.
They've been
Easing him
into the
in.
lineup
So,
again
really
from
easy.
that
Yeah,
that
injury's a
ACL.
little bit more than what we thought.
Yeah. If he can
The
get
healing.
back on the roll, maybe he can cover up a lot of mistakes that they're going to be missed
They're a
there.
totally different team when Von Miller's healthy
Oh,
on
yes.
that
Yeah.
field.
Oh,
there's a lot
absolutely.
of teams when he played for them.
Mm-hmm.
But he is getting a little older, and injuries take a little longer to
To
heal.
heal,
And
absolutely.
maybe this one here is, they don't want to push it too much, but that defense could use them.
Well, the thing is, these players, they'll talk about that. The older they get, it is a lot tougher to come back from an injury. And depending on the injury, sometimes they just can't make it back.
No, yeah, that's true.
All right. I'm going to skip over to this next team. We're going to go to the Ravens. The Ravens need an edge rusher to make that defense even scarier than it already is. Couple that with their offense. Yeah, they could actually end up winning the North. I would say right now, I think Pittsburgh has a chance to win the North, but the Ravens, they look too strong
I
at
think
this
the
point.
Ravens look way too strong. I think Baltimore is going to look amazing the rest of the season. I think the offense is finally clicking, and I think they're just going to get better and better the year goes on.
Somebody playing for something? Mr. Jackson, is he
Yeah.
playing for Jackson's?
No,
he
he got his.
might be.
Yeah, well, he got. Well, I don't know. Whatever his
changed his
contract
name to
was,
Lamar
right,
Benjamin.
yeah, whatever his
You know,
contract.
him and his
was,
mother negotiate everything.
Yeah, so whatever's in that contract, you might be playing for something there.
I don't even get me started on mommy negotiating because that brings me back to Minka Fitzpatrick, who's now at the Steelers.
The Steelers.
Who Brian Flores in Miami wanted to make him a very special type of all-purpose player, and him and his mom said, "I'm a safety."
Oh, too good.
All right, now we're going to come back to. I would have said had they looked better against the Chiefs or they beaten the Chiefs, obviously the Chargers would have been buyers.
Yes.
At this point, I got to say they might even be sellers at this point. Again, it comes back to push that trade deadline back further because the Chargers are one of those teams. What are they, 2-5?
Yeah, I believe 2 and 5, 2 and 4.
2 and 4. I don't think I updated that one, or maybe I did. I can't remember if they had a buy already. But either way, right now, the way they're going, they should be selling.
Oh yeah,
and I think Brandon Staley probably
he's on the hot seat.
he's the hottest.
He's on the hot seat.
Him and Ron Rivera.
Yes. Eckler is not happy with his coach, so he's probably wanting out of there. If you're not gonna, he's on the last year of his contract. He's trying to get paid. So curious to see how this
There's
goes.
definitely a lot of talent over there.
Oh,
in
yeah.
charge, and
There's always a lot
I
of talent on that team,
yes,
and they never live up to
seem
it. Nope.
Yeah, it has. I think it has to do with coaching.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are sitting there saying, I relate back to the Patriots, but Bill Belichick is maybe on a hot seat or what. I think you're all crazy. I really do, because I think if Bill Belichick was to leave the Patriots today, that phone's ringing off the hook, and one of them's the
he's-
Chargers, another one's Jerry Jones.
He's not going
He's
anywhere.
not
Another one
going
is
anywhere.
Washington.
And
He
if
just
you-
signed
if you
that
get rid of-
contract extension this
Who's
week. didn't he?
better than Belichick right now? I just told you, though, we got no talent over there, and he's still winning games. So he brings out a team that's going to fight you tooth and nail.
I think the thing that hurts Belichick, though, is that he's been the general manager and the coach.
Yeah.
And so the no talent, that falls on him.
Yes.
Right.
And so is that going to be what makes the difference for Kraft and his decision at the end of the year? Or is he just going to look at Bill and go, look, I'm going to bring in a GM. You coach the talent. I'm going to bring in a GM to get the talent here. And will Bill go for that?
Well, in my personal opinion, I don't think they're going to hire somebody publicly. I think they're going to have somebody as his. Hey, this guy's going to help you out, and
Yeah.
he's going to learn from it.
It's going to be
You're
the
still going
assistant
to
head
carry that
coach.
title because we don't want that embarrassment. So here you go, and he's still going to focus more on coaching, and they're not going to announce it. That's the way. That's the Patriot way. I think
That
they
is
handle
the
it.
Patriot way. Put on the hoodie, and we're on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati.
See Bill wearing these and walking the
Yeah.
sidelines next year with the eyebrow, though.
No clue who he'd be. And if you do know him, he doesn't know you.
All right. I'm going to open up the floor. Floody, we'll start out with you. Anything particular on your mind before we get into the officiating?
Oh, man. Can I go to the bathroom for the officiating? It's just, it's ugly. You know, it really does kill me when these guys have to always keep pulling out the goddamn flag, man.
Yeah.
Let these guys play for a little while. We talked about it. They say there's holding on every play. But
Always.
Yeah.
You could
why do
call it on
always-
every play.
and it's sometimes it's quite obvious with you guys last week and
Oh, yeah. The headlock and the.
the home field getting so many calls, and you know, I hate to see that look at it like it's a little on the fixed side, but
Just a little bit. I mean, it appeared that way and it seemed that way. And it's not just Dolphin fans. I've been reading up all across the National Football League and even former players. Well, current player, Lamar Jackson came out on X,
Yeah.
formerly
did.
known as Twitter, and he said, come on, NFL, you got to get this straight. This is ridiculous. And then Richard Sherman,
blew him
he
up,
has really been going off on it. He's like, this is despicable. You know, you got, like you said, you got to let these guys play. It's a fast game. I said this, and I'll bounce this off you guys. One of two things or both that we could do to solve this entire issue of bad officiating or bad calls, whatever. Either they're reviewable by the booth automatically to make sure that it was a penalty that should be called. Okay. Whereas if it's like, all right, look, you called holding, but there's no evidence of holding. So reverse it. Or coach's challenge to penalties.
That's a tough one because it slows down the game. That's the hard one.
I don't think it would slow it down that much, though.
No.
Instant replay being what it is, I think they could do it pretty quick.
I think through the booth, yes.
Yeah, through the
Through
booth.
the booth.
Coaching and
Yeah.
throwing the flag.
The coaches.
I mean,
challenge,
nobody throws a flag better than Belichick, anyways. Stomping
you mean
it
this-
down, firing it down, and everything else.
though. right on
But-
top of his foot.
Then we're going from yellow flags to red
Oh,
flags.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
come on, why don't we get the rainbow?
Well, I think
too?
I think if you give it, oh, there you go, a rainbow flag.
Come on, keep it all on the same deal. Don't forget those poor people in Hawaii, by the way.
I think that if you allowed the coaches to challenge, I think you could have it be replay official in the booth, looks at it real quick and goes, yep, it was a foul. It stands. If he says no, then you called the foul. And I think each coach should have one penalty challenge per half. But if you lose the challenge, you lose the timeout. Same as now with the challenging of a play.
challenge away now. Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
it would add that. But I
I
don't
think
think it would add that much time to a game. We're already talking about games that go three plus hours.
Yeah,
So-
I think if you did it from the booth, the coach is challenged because the coach is going to want to reiterate a point, and then he's going to stop the game because he's going to be over there barking. So I think the booth challenge, I think that one works.
I do, and you already see it in the last 2 minutes, no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
They do
Automatic
it.
review. I think
Automatic
all
review.
penalties should be an automatic review
So-
from the booth. Yay or nay.
I think that all penalties
Yeah.
should be. I think that. Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
So I'm gonna, and like I said, I don't really want to bring up. I'm not sitting here. And we're going to talk about the Raiders because they're playing the Lions this week, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Monday
So
night.
Yeah,
football
Monday night
right
football.
here.
Yeah,
October
man.
30th.
Wow.
Almost turned 60.
day before the.
Day before Pumpkin Day. Hey.
So Sunday night, just horrible officiating. Let's go back to Sunday, though. Colts, Browns. The way that game ended, I feel like the Colts kind of got robbed in that game.
Yeah, the Colts did get robbed in that game a little bit.
The Dolphins didn't get robbed. The Dolphins didn't play well.
Right.
Yeah.
And the injuries to the offensive line, we had center, left guard, left tackle, all backups. And Jalen Waddle hurting. And
Jalen Waddle was hurt again. Yeah. But
what do you guys think about the Colts and the Browns game? Did you see that? Did you see everything that happened? Because I heard about it. I know that Irsay was pissed. I guess I could say pissed. It's my show.
Shit, yeah. I saw the game. I saw bits and pieces of it. I was, first of all, blown away that the Browns defense gave up that many points to second string.
And Gardner Minshew. Yeah.
Well, he's been around a little bit. He's got that porno mustache rolling and stuff. But I was surprised. But I think the Colts, once again, it's all this flag crap.
Yeah,
it just drives me crazy.
Well, and I think that's been an issue though, actually, for years.
Yeah, for years.
I mean, I can't think of a single season that going back probably the last 20 years that I haven't watched a game, whether it's a Dolphin game, whether it's anybody else, and just especially like at the Super Bowl. There's been a couple of Super Bowls. It was last year's Super Bowl kind of started out that way. It was flag after flag after flag.
Yeah, like, just killed the momentum.
The first 6 plays was a flag. It was like, come on, it's the Super Bowl. And you're telling me a whole bunch of old guys out there trying to run around with these fast kids are able to see every single play exactly how it happened to be able to call a penalty?
I don't think so. I mean, it's tough. And for me, the worst call of the week I thought was the Steeler game. The quarterback sneaked to end the game. That wasn't even close. Come on, that was not even close. Nope, that was not even close. That's a turnover on downs.
Well, I look at this past weekend, and I look at the weekend before. The Giants should have beaten the Bills. That was a pass interference in the end zone at the end of that game, and they didn't even no mention.
No mention of it. No mention of it.
None. What are we looking at score wise here? We still at 24-10. This is an interesting game tonight because Tampa Bay came storming back, tied that game 10-10. It looked like it was going to be a good game. And then the Bills just said, nope, we're going to put our foot on the gas pedal and off we go.
And both teams needed to win this week, especially with Atlanta in the South and the Bills falling flat last week. So both teams were really looking for a good performance.
Well, Buffalo needs to win tonight, and then they're going to be rooting for the Patriots on Sunday. All right, let's talk about the Raiders up against the Lions. Did I lead into that too soon? We still got 17 minutes, and I don't know if we can cover 17 minutes of Raiders.
I don't think Jimmy G is back.
He said right? Well, yeah, he's got the bag stuff. He said he's feeling better, but it looks like they were getting him back on a limited basis. But he's still trying to aim to get back.
Is Jimmy G a difference maker though? I think everything starts and stops with Josh Jacobs.
Hoyer's terrible. Hoyer was awful last week.
He was
awful.
He was awful with everybody else, even with the Patriots. Come on.
Yeah. But Josh,
I got a little more hair than you.
Josh Jacobs has been I don't know what to make of him anymore. He gets so many opportunities. He just can't.
They gave him a little contract, didn't they?
Yeah, they gave him a tiny little contract.
Yeah.
But he did come into the camp probably out of shape. I wouldn't
probably out of shape. Still showing a little bit.
Well, the worst part for the Raiders is 284.1 yards per game total. Rushing yards, though, 68.6. And I mean, that's got to be. Is that at the bottom? That's at the bottom.
He's tied for the most touches by a running back.
That's pitiful. So you don't have the running back performing. You don't have a quarterback that's able to hit the broadside of a barn.
Mm-hmm. You've got some decent wide receivers over there, though.
Yeah. Well, you got Devontae Adams and
the kid Jacoby Myers. They had a great game against the whole team in New England, but I got a feeling that you Raider fans out there about to get shellacked. Because they're playing that Detroit team coming off a bad loss.
Well, that's the other thing. The Raiders are giving up 316.4 yards per game. And you look at the Lions, their fourth overall offense with 377 yards per game.
It's going to be interesting just because David Montgomery being out.
And they're balanced, 118 on the ground.
They got to get Jahmyr Gibbs going, and I'm curious to see if they're going to get him to go in the passing game, which they've done, or are they going to run the ball down, with him and Craig Reynolds?
I think you're going to do both. I think they're going to keep Crosby off him, and they're going to pound the pill. They're going to throw the ball. They're going to do whatever they want.
If you stop Crosby, you can do whatever you want.
Prediction, but
Well, when you figure that, I just said the Lions are they're rushing 118.4 yards a game. The Raiders are giving up 129 on the ground. So Detroit's going to have a fun day on Sunday running that ball downhill. And they like to run it between the tackles. They're a downhill football team.
But they're not that team when David Montgomery's been out of the lineup.
Right.
That's the difference. That's what worries me about the Lions is since he's been out, they've stopped going down the middle because they don't want to give Gibbs the ball in the middle. They want to throw him the football and swing so they can get outside. That's
they're trying to utilize that speed, get him out there and not get him banged up.
They might have looked at a little bit that this past weekend.
I think you can still, I think you can still run the ball in the middle with Gibbs. And I think that's what they need to do.
And I think they will.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the Raiders offense then. But I already said, though, the Raiders 284 total, 215 in the air, 68.6 on the ground. That's just, and then you look at the Lions defense, only giving up 76.3 on the ground.
Yeah, their rush defense.
So those stats just don't
they
don't bode well for the Raiders at all. I don't think, and I think you got to look at intangibles for the Raiders because they've been one of those teams. We talk about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They've been one of those teams. You come out, you beat Denver. I didn't think you were going to win the opener in Denver. You did that. And then you drop 2 straight after that, and you pick up a game, and then you lose to Chicago. I mean,
yeah, that was pretty bad.
And I just and the reason I picked Chicago last week is I just had a feeling after watching what Chicago did on that Thursday night game against the Commanders. I just had a feeling that this is kind of like the cardiac kids as the Raiders going in there, and they were going to lay an egg.
Oh, they did, especially a backup quarterback from a Division II school, undrafted.
That one
Shepherd College.
That night you saw the Bears play, they played for Dick Buckus.
Yeah,
came all out for Dick. And he's now gone into better and greener pastures, and the Bears are back to being the Bears.
And I think this last week for the Bears, I think it was Badgett. I mean, he just came out and he's like, "Hey, this is my shot."
Yeah.
And you saw the kid early in the game, when he made the touchdown, he came out there and he's doing this through the end zone. That kid was ready for prime time, and he showed it.
Yeah.
He showed it.
He looked great. He didn't do anything to win the game, but he didn't do anything to lose it.
No, he was perfect game management.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perfect game management. All right, let's go to predictions for this week, score-wise.
For the Raiders and Detroit Lions. That's I don't think the Raiders are going to have enough to stick with the Lions. I'm predicting a blowout. I'm going to say 35-13.
Oh,
I got 38-17.
Okay.
I think that very early on, I think the Raiders are going to make a game of it. I think it's going to be tied at halftime. And I think in the second half, Dan Campbell's going to make those adjustments. He's going to have
just picking the Raiders to get back on everybody's good
fired
graces.
up. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Eyebrowless anyway, even without the eyebrow. All right. I am going to go. Lions are going to come out in the second half. I say Lions 31-17.
Okay. All right.
So we all got them beat.
Yeah, we've all got a pretty bad peak. Yeah. So all right.
I think we're probably all going to be in the money on that one.
Yeah, I just don't see it coming from Las Vegas, especially with McDaniels. I think it's over for him. I think he's another one. I think he's one of the three.
I think he's possibly very much on the hot seat and out of here.
They got to hit the reset
and with the problems in New England, it wouldn't surprise me that McDaniels ends up back in New England next year.
You know what? He has proven he makes one hell of an OC.
The prodigal son returns.
He makes a great offensive coordinator and a terrible head coach. It is what it is.
I will say this much, that Mac Jones looked a lot better with him as his offensive
Speaking of Mac Jones,
as opposed to Bill O'Brien right now.
Mac Jones, listen, Patriots and Dolphins play, of course. Fantasy football-wise, I actually like Mac Jones this week. It's going to be a negative game script. It's going to be a negative game script. He actually throws the ball. His completion percentage is 67%.
He does. He
gotta,
scared me.
He's got to stay away from the turnover. He stays away from those turnovers. I think he could have a productive day because there is, like we just talked about, the pass rush from the Miami Dolphins is lacking.
It's lacking. We just don't have. But now Jalen Phillips, he's 100% now. That's going to take a little bit of pressure off of Bradley Chubb because everybody with Jalen Phillips out, people in Miami were freaking out. Bradley Chubb, we got to get rid of him. He's overpaid. He sucks. And I'm like, he's getting double teamed because Jalen Phillips is out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And even with Jalen Phillips coming back in there, they're probably going to continue to double team Chubb until you go, oh, crap, we got to stop this kid named Jalen Phillips. All right. So with Phillips back in there, I think you're going to see a better performance out of Bradley Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
Van Ginkel opens it up as well.
He stepped up huge this year. That's probably my favorite Dolphin want to watch.
What I'm worried about, yeah, Van Ginkel has definitely stepped it up this year. He's a pleasant surprise in Miami. I always knew he was a good player. The disappointing guy on our defense for me, though, is actually Jerome Baker.
Oh,
I just think the age is catching up with him.
Yeah.
He's slowing down a little bit. I haven't heard, and they're a little bit tight-lipped about it. I don't think Jalen Ramsey sees the field this week.
No, I don't.
I think it may be next week in Germany.
I don't think for a matchup like with the Pats, I don't think you need to rush him back for that one. No,
I don't either.
So.
But I'm going to tell you something. And Floody knows this. You know this too. It's a divisional game. It's AFC East football.
Oh, yeah.
We know each other very, very well. It is it's still a Belichick coach team. They're going to be ready.
Watch out for
the Patriots. Always scare me, and the Dolphins. We took our foot off their neck in week 2, and we screwed around and almost lost that game. And I guarantee you, had the Patriots scored at the end of that game, Belichick would have probably gone for 2 to beat us.
Oh, absolutely.
He wouldn't have kicked the extra point and go into overtime. I think he would have tried to beat us. So this game scares me. I'm going to go with my Dolphins. They're at home. It is Tua. Waddle's playing. Hill is playing. He practiced today. I think the Dolphins just have too many weapons for the Patriots to be able to slow down completely.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that Miami learned their lesson in week 2 that you got them down, you got to keep them down. So, but it's going to be close. I don't think the Dolphins are going to score like what we've been seeing.
Oh, yeah,
I think the Dolphins score maybe 27 points, and I think our defense will probably give up to Mac Jones and company 23. I'm going to say Dolphins 27-23.
That was actually close. I was actually going to go 27-24. Winning by a field goal. That was where I was going with that.
And here it comes.
Both those scores are respectable. You got your glasses over there. And things.
Borrow them? He may need to hide in Boston.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a 26-23.
Okay.
New England. There you go.
All right.
New England pulls it up again. And pulls it up again. And Buffalo fans now like us again. Easy Schittsburg up there. The brownies. How about the brownies? Not the edible kind. I'll have one. Thank you.
We'll all have a brownie at this point.
Good. So good.
All right. And now we got to put Jesse on the spot because your team, San Francisco. All right. Take it away and tell us what you think.
It's going to be tough. Listen, the news coming out about Purdy and the concussion protocol. Is it really a concussion? He practiced today, so it makes me weary on how bad the concussion symptoms were.
Yeah. They said he suffered them on the plane ride back home.
Yeah, they noticed them on the plane ride home. So I don't know what's going on with that one. I just know the defense, for some reason, the secondary has just fallen apart. And it's because we're not getting to the quarterback.
Right.
The pass rush isn't getting there. Bosa the last couple of years has been just a stud in there, and it seems like it's a little bit lagging this year.
Seen a little film on him, how to pick him off a little bit, slow him down.
He got paid, and so it's time to take a break.
Yeah, maybe that, you know.
Who knows? Well, yeah, that is key. How often do you see a guy get a big contract and then
a lot of times it's with pitchers.
The worst one is always go back to is Chris Johnson. As soon as he got his contract, he was like, "I'm kind of done. I'm done.
I got my money.
Got my money."
It's all about the Benjamins.
It's going to be a tough week. This is going to be a make or break week. If the Niners don't get right this week, I don't
Put
see
on
that
the
one.
other glasses
Yeah, I don't see
for
that.
his prediction.
I needed to be able to see this score. It's still 24-10. It's kind of
24-10,
surprising me.
yeah.
They just kind of stopped at where what
Tampa Bay got past
5:56
midfield,
to go or
Tampa
6:56.
Bay's trying to cover the spread.
Yeah,
right
they're trying.
now. There you go
Hello,
for you
hello,
people out there.
Vegas.
Yeah,
Hello,
exactly.
Sportsbook.
Yep.
So scores.
Score San Francisco.
Oh man, you guys are putting me on the spot on that one. Lordy. I'm gonna take the Niners 30-24.
24.
Interesting.
You know what? I remember these two teams playing in a Super Bowl, and I believe John Candy was sitting in the front row, and it was right before the last drive that Joe Montana took him down. He was talking to the guys in the huddle. You know, John Candy's in the front row.
Don't we?
Yeah,
I think that score was 27-21.
something like that. Yeah, it
Something
was
like
at the end when they
I'll
got
take
touched.
27-21 Cincinnati.
Okay.
Cincinnati.
Okay.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Oh.
Sorry, brother. Coming off the bye week. You guys,
It's tough.
your defensive backs are going to be running all over the field.
At home. Yeah,
I think Joe Burrow's coming with that chip. I think it's a huge, bigger win. I think for Cincinnati to win on the road than San Fran losing 3 in a row.
Well, as I like Cincinnati and I like Joe Burrow, I just don't see the Bengals being able to go in and beat a San Francisco team that has now lost 2 games in a row. They're back home. They're pissed off. And I think it's going to be a tough game. I don't think San Francisco is not going to win this. They're not going to run away with this.
No.
All right. This is going to be one of those tight games. It's not going to be decided by a field goal, but it's going to be close. It's going to be a 1-score game. I'm going to say San Francisco pulls this one out 23-17.
I had to go with the 30 because all our wins have come with 30 points. So
It's about the way the Dolphins are, unless it's 70 points. But I don't see that happening again.
Is San Fran one of those teams that rises to the talent they play because they didn't rise to the Brownies?
Yeah.
Missing their running back and missing their quarterback, but the defensive scheme shut them down.
They've never seemed to be that type of team, but the last 2 weeks they have.
Rise to the Vikings.
Yeah.
Vikings were pretty
Well,
pitiful.
the Vikings. I was watching that game. It was the offensive line fell apart. I saw numerous times the Vikings are rushing 3, and all 3 are hitting Purdy in the backfield. You're going, where'd the O-line go?
Cincinnati's well rested.
It's interesting you mentioned that, though. Teams that rise or fall based on the competition that they're playing. The Dolphins have done that for years. Okay. The other team that's done that for years, the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys have. Yeah, they've exactly.
The
been
Cowboys should go in and beat somebody, and it's the Giants. They're 0 and whatever, and they end up losing because they don't take them seriously.
It's true, and you sit back and take a look at here and sit there and go, "How about those cowgirls?"
All the time. But I think those 2 teams, Miami and the Cowboys. And then now San Francisco, I agree with Floody. They've done that the last 2 weeks. I hate to say they played down to their competition because obviously they got beat. So they're just not there's something that's not clicking there. Are they overlooking something in the film room? Are they looking ahead to another game? Which, coaches talk about that and the players always go, "Oh, we're concentrated on the next game." No, sometimes you've got something marked on the calendar for personal reasons. Are too many of the players looking forward to something else?
I think that's the biggest thing. I think players overlook the schedule rather than just focusing on the next game. I always looked at it. If somebody who's doing a post-game interview already knows who they're playing the next week before they even get off the field, you were looking ahead.
Absolutely.
You were looking ahead.
I agree.
You overlooked it.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Well, hey, another great show.
Yeah.
We want to thank everybody for tuning in right here on First and Mad, brought to you every Thursday, 7:00 Pacific time, right here at Mad Matty's Casino. What's the address again?
8100 West Sahara.
8100 West
Come on
Sahara.
down. We're having our Halloween party this Sunday night, so you're all more than welcome. A little free food buffet. We got scariest costume, funniest costume, and best overall costume. A lot of people doing their parties on Friday and Saturday. Ours is Sunday, and they just happen to be throwing yours truly a birthday party.
Hey, a birthday party. So
come on down.
Yeah.
Match wits with us a little bit. Have some fun. I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah. And come on down on Thursdays, guys, when we're doing the show.
Absolutely. Got to come down on Thursdays because, I mean, we still have the goodie bag. Oh, it's Raider stuff.
But come on down, ask us questions, and, hey, have a good time with us, guys. All right? Don't be
All
scared.
right. And I got to run over here to turn off the feed. So I'm going to let the guys sign out. This is Brad Michaels for First and Mad. We'll see you next week. You guys take it.
All right, guys. Thank you again. Join us next week for another fun time with Floody and I.
Absolutely. Your buddy Floody. I'll be another year older when I see you next. Ouch.
You're not coming back till next year.
Yeah. Good to go.